Hi, I'm Maya, VP of Societies and Volunteering.
Hi, I'm Rose, VP of Education.
I'm Mel and I work for Cwmni Addysg Sex Education Company.
And today we're answering your questions about sex.
So, Mel, how does sex work?
So sex is when you and your partner stimulate each other's genitals. So sex quite commonly refers to things like oral sex, vaginal sex or anal sex, but it can also refer to things like mutual masturbation. So what sex is how you define it.
Where are the exact coordinates of the clitoris?
So the clitoris is part of the vulva, and I've got a model here to show you. So the clitoris is, the gland of the clitoris is situated at the front of the vulva. If you imagine the vulva sort of points downwards on somebody when they're standing up or sitting down, and the clitoris is above the urethra and the vaginal opening. So that's the gland of the clitoris, but the clitoris is actually much bigger than that, and the majority of the clitoris is not actually visible from the vulva. So this is what the internal structure of the clitoris looks like. So this is the glans, which is the little bit that you see externally, but this structure extends inside the body, and these bulbs wrap around the urethra and the vagina. So when people have clitoral orgasms, it's usually referred to the outside of the clitoris, the glands being stimulated. But actually when people have vaginal orgasm as well, it's when the internal structure of the clitoris is being stimulated. So they're all clitoral orgasms.
Do you need clitoral stimulation to come?
Most people that have got a vulva and a vagina will need clitoral stimulation to come. Only about 20 to 30% of people will report having vaginal orgasm without any external clitoral stimulation. So if you want more success at having orgasms, it's good to know how to stimulate the clitoris externally as well.
Is anal sex good or not?
That depends on who's having it. So some people will really enjoy it, and some people it won't be for them. It's worth remembering there are lots of nerve endings around the anus, so it can feel really pleasurable. And if you've got a prostate gland, it can feel really pleasurable if that's stimulated through the wall of the rectum internally. But the most important thing about anal sex is that you are comfortable about making a decision about whether you want to do it by yourself and you don't feel pressured into it.
How can you safely prepare for anal sex?
So the most important thing to prepare for anal sex, if you want to engage in it, is lubrication. Bottoms just don't get as wet as vaginas and mouths. So you need extra lubrication to make sure you don't get any tears or abrasions on the inside of the rectum, because that can be quite sore and it can increase your risk of STI transmission. So a good water-based lubricant is really key here, and you can get those free here from the Students' Union, and then condoms as well to help prevent sexually transmitted infections. You can warm up the bottom with your fingers and stretch it slightly to prepare for anal sex, and you can use sex toys, but it's really important if you're using sex toys on the anus to only use sex toys with a flared end. I've got one here, because things can get lost inside the bottom, so it's making sure you're only using it with a flared end so it doesn't disappear, and you can go to accident emergency if that does happen, by the way. And when you're starting out having anal sex as well, with the person who is having something inserted in their anus, they might prefer to go on top of their partner so they feel more in control and are more control when the penis goes inside the bottom.
Could it be a sign of fertility for a guy to take a while to come?
It could be. Delayed ejaculation could mean that could be a potential sign of male infertility, because it could indicate issues with sperm production or sperm transit out the end of the penis. But so if you're worried about this, it might be worth going and getting it checked out with a GP, especially if you are trying for a baby.
So, how do you find the G-spot?
Whether the G-spot actually exists or not is still in contention, but it's commonly known as being on the front wall of the vagina about 2 inches up. So it's known as the Grafenberg spot because he was the doctor who first hypothesised that it existed. There is some evidence to say that actually the G-spot is where you might rub against the internal structure of the clitoris inside the vagina anyway. So that adds evidence that there is more sort of a sensitive spot. G-spot can also refer to people with a penis, and it can refer to the area of the rectum that touches the prostate gland internally as well. And these are just areas of the body that can feel a bit more pleasurable to stimulation during sex.
Can you get pregnant from pre-cum?
It's very rare, but occasionally it can happen. So if there is live sperm inside the urethra and the sperm tubes, when somebody gets an erection, that can come out in the pre-ejaculate fluid when somebody gets an erection and can be present without somebody needing to actually ejaculate to transmit sperm through up to the vagina.
Why can people get random boners?
Random boners are really common. So it's basically a sign that somebody's penis is working properly. So especially during puberty. So there's all sorts of things that can stimulate random boners, but primarily hormone surges through different times of the day. It's common for most men or people with penises when they're asleep to get about 3 erections in the night without them even realising. But you can get it from friction, you can get them sitting on a bus, you can get them through random thoughts. It is completely normal.
Thanks, Mel, for answering our questions about sex. We'll see you next time.